and gentlemen, we're pleased to announce the arrival of our guest of honor, Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Concerns, Ariel Y. Abadilla, representing Acting Secretary Enrique A. Manalo, Department of Foreign Affairs. He is joined by Secretary Delfina Lorenzana, Department of National Defense, His Excellency Sue Y. Kim, Ambassador of the United States to the Philippines, General Eduardo M. Año, Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, with the co-exercise directors, Lieutenant General Oscar D. Lactao, Philippines, and Lieutenant General Lawrence D. Nicholson, United States of America. We shall begin with the ceremony. Please all stand for the entry of colors. Ladies and gentlemen, the national anthems of the Republic of the Philippines and the United States of America. Please remain standing for the invocation with the Chief Chaplain, Service Armed Forces of the Philippines, Brigadier General Tirso A. Dolina, officiating.
A call to prayer. Sovereign nations, offer your praise and thanksgiving. In freedom, let us worship God alone, the Almighty, most gracious and merciful. O Creator of life, God of all times and all seasons, deep in our hearts we profess our faith in your divine will that directs our history and destiny. From eternity, your Spirit hovered over the waters, and with your divine word, you created the whole universe, the earth, the mountains, and the seas, that you filled with life and natural resources, with its balance and beauty to sustain the needs of humanity. And you bestowed the authority to the government of every nation, the sacred right and duty to protect the people and to defend the sovereignty and territory of every independent country. So be pleased, O God, with our collective vision as we offer to you our sincere supplications for the success of this annual Balikatan exercise. Humbly, we beseech you, enlighten us with your wisdom as nations of goodwill, allies in our commitment as partners for peace and prosperity. Empower us with your truth and justice to honor and to defend the principles and values that bind our nations. Protect and spare from danger and harm all soldiers, sailors, airmen, marines, and observers, and every participant of this annual bilateral exercise. Forgive our offenses and recriminations in the past. Sanctify and heal us with your love and mercy. With sincerity, we implore you, O God, to bestow with your distinct benediction all our honored guests and visitors in attendance. Finally, may the God of life, the God of providence, the God of our history and destiny, bless, protect, and prosper us all in peace, now and forever. Amen.
Thank you to the Chief Chaplain, Service Armed Forces of the Philippines. Please be seated. To formally welcome everyone on this opening ceremony, we have the co-exercise directors of the Philippine United States Exercise Balikatan 2017. Let us hear from the United States Co-Exercise Director, Lieutenant General Lawrence D. Nicholson.
Okay, first of all, welcome everybody. Defense Minister Lorenzano. Sir, we are honored by your presence here today. Thank you very much. Undersecretary, Ambassador Kim, Ambassador Gorley from Australia, Ambassador Ishikawa. Again, we are honored by your presence. General officers, General Anyo, what a great honor it was this morning to meet you and have our conversation. And to my partner, General Lakdao, the co-coordinator here. Sir, thank you for the incredible amount of work you've done in advance to make this a success. We gather here to renew the 33rd iteration of Exercise Balikatan. And again, we are the renewal of those bonds and the great strength between our many nations. The U.S. Philippine alliance, 66 years old today, but in nearly 70 years, we have worked very closely on a wide variety of issues, and that close work and that close bond between our two nations and our two people continue. To our Australian colleagues who are participants this year, welcome. It's always good to have you here. And to the 8 observer nations that are here, thank you so much for being here today and participating in this important exercise. You know, while the scope of this exercise can change from year to year, and this year our focus is humanitarian and disaster relief and counterterrorism. Certainly two areas that are of great importance, not just to our nations represented here, to all of ASEAN and to many nations in the world. Over the last week in the PACOM headquarters and at my headquarters in Okinawa, we've been preparing for what might have been a significant super typhoon down near the island of Vanuatu. And luckily, it looks like that will pass without problem. But we were, again, focusing, working with our government, working with our embassies, working with the Department of State to ensure that should the call come, that our forces would be ready to respond. I'd like to tell you that Admiral Harris has asked me to thank all of you on behalf of the many soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. John Cavoli, sir, it's great to see you again here representing USAPAC and the great 25th Infantry Division out of Hawaii. So from across the entire Pacific Command, again, we are honored to participate in this most important exercise with this great ally of nearly 70 years, the Philippines. I know my Marines and sailors from 3MEF are very, very excited to be here, and I know I can speak for the Army and the Air Force and the 7th Fleet as well as we begin to focus on this very, very challenging HADR and counterterrorism. For the next 2 weeks, again, we will share techniques, tactics, procedures. We will work on engineering capabilities. We will do some humanitarian aid. We will work on some schools. This is going to be a great 2 weeks for our forces. And again, working any chance we get to work with the armed forces of the Philippines for all of us is a special privilege and certainly a great treat. So thank you for being here. Thank you for the great interest. We are honored by your presence, all of you. It is an honor to be the co-director here with General Lactau, and we look forward to a fantastic 2 weeks, at the end of which our relations and our bonds are even stronger than they are today. Thank you very much. Have a great exercise.
Thank you to the United States Co-Exercise Director. We'll have the remarks of the Philippines Co-Exercise Director, Lieutenant General Oscar T. Lactau, who would also recommend the opening of the exercise.
The Honorable Secretary of the National Defense, Secretary Delphine and Lorenzana, sir. Honorable Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Concerns, Undersecretary Ariel Abadilla. His Excellency Ambassador Sung Kim, General Eduardo Año, sir, the Chief of Staff of the AFP, Lieutenant General Lawrence Nicholson, U.S. Marine Corps, my co-exercise director. His Excellency Kazuhide Ishikawa, the Japanese Ambassador to the Philippines, other general officers from the AFP, the U.S., Australia, and Japan. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Mabuhay, and welcome to the General Headquarters of the Armed Forces of the Philippines. The Balikatan exercise has been one of the strong foundations of defense between the Philippines and the United States. The continuing conduct of this important exercise can be regarded as a testimony to a much-anticipated fruitful relationship. This year, we focus our exercise on addressing evolving non-traditional security challenges, such as humanitarian assistance and disaster response and counterterrorism. This prioritization is in line with the pressing issue of climate change that causes super typhoons like Super Typhoon Yolanda, where thousands of lives were lost and billions worth of properties were destroyed. At another front, there is also a threat from foreign and local terrorist groups. which is inimical to the peace and security of our country. As we formally open the 33rd iteration of the Philippine-U.S. Balikatan exercise, I encourage everyone to utilize this opportunity for learning and testing our interoperability in terms of HADR and counterterrorism. I am certain that this can be achieved because this year's major events includes the HADR Command Post exercise to be conducted here in Camp Aguinaldo, humanitarian civic action in the Visayas region, the bilateral service interoperability events that will be held all over Luzon. These activities are imbued with required capability trainings for a more effective HADR and counterterrorism tactics, allowing us to be prepared in any disaster that may strike our nation. After all, Balikatan is designed and executed to meet current challenges that hurdle the development of the Philippines. So to all the participants from both Philippines and the United States, including observers from Australia and Japan, and the 8 countries from ASEAN, I salute you all for joining this year's Balikatan exercise. Let us use this as an avenue for exchanging ideas and expertise, sharing experiences, and creating good memories with our fellow soldiers and comrades in arms. In behalf of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the Philippine government, I welcome you to the 33rd iteration of the Philippine-United States Balikatan exercise here in the Philippines. May this event be nothing more than a fulfillment of our noble cause, freedom and peace for our people in our nations. As the co-exercise director, may I recommend to the Chief of Staff the Philippine-U.S. Exercise Balikatan 2017 be opened effective this date.
Thank you to the Philippines Co-Exercise Director. The Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Eduardo M. Año, will now give his remarks and declare the opening of the Philippines-United States Exercise Balikatan 2017.
Secretary Delpin N. Lorenzana, Secretary of National Defense, Undersecretary Ariel Abadilla, the Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Concerns, also representing the Acting Secretary of the Foreign Affairs, members of the Diplomatic Corps present, His Excellency Sung Kim, Ambassador of the United States of America, His Excellency Kazuhide Ishikawa, Ambassador of Japan, Yusek Pedro Cesar Rambuanga Jr., the Presidential Commission and the Visiting Forces from the Department of Foreign Affairs, Yusek Ricardo Halad from the Office of the Civil Defense, DND, Lieutenant General Oscar Tilactao, the Philippine Exercise Director for BK 33-27, and also Commander of the Central Command. Lieutenant General Lawrence Nicholson, the U.S. Exercise Director and Commanding General of the 3rd Marine Expeditionary Force, Commander of Marine Forces, Japan. Lieutenant General Salvador Melchor Mison Jr., the Vice Chief of Staff, AAP, Vice Admiral Narciso Bingson Jr., the Deputy Chief of Staff, AAP, our Major Service Commanders, Lieutenant General Glorioso B. Miranda, Commanding General of the Philippine Army, Vice Admiral Ronald Joseph Mercado, Flag Officer in Command, Philippine Navy, Lieutenant General Edgar Palyorina, Commanding General of the Philippine Air Force. May I also recognize our unified commanders present here, Lieutenant General Romeo Tanalgo, Commander of the Northern Luzon Command, and Lieutenant General Ferdinand Cadilla, Commander of the Southern Luzon Command. Major General Hermenildo Francisco Aquino, the Assistant Exercise Director, international observers of the Balikatan Exercise 33-2017, members of the Joint Personnel Special Staff, and commanders-in-chiefs of the AP-wide support separate units, other training institutions present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to everyone. Balikatan literally means shoulder to shoulder. but it can also be used to connote the partnership between mutually supportive entities that share a common goal. The alliance between the Philippines and the United States traces its roots back to the era of our forefathers and has fervently withstood the test of time. Throughout the course of history, countless accounts of sacrifices and heroism have been shared by our nation's military, from World War II to the Korean and Vietnam Wars, up to our current global fight against terrorism. Our armed forces have continuously shared ordeals that have strengthened our bond. The RPUS Balikatan exercises have been an avenue for us to enhance the cooperation between our military forces. Through continuous training and learning, we have mutually developed our teamwork. These annual exercises have also provided us the opportunity to test and validate our force interoperability, evaluate bilateral procedures and protocols, and provided us a common operating picture necessary to establish the right mechanism for better collaborative actions. These have allowed us to strengthen existing strategies and also to venture into new paradigms necessary to the demand of our job. Recent global and local events have taught us that we must be proficient in both traditional and non-traditional military capabilities. Just recently, the series of severe weather events, particularly the tornado outbreak and floods of April 28 to 01 May 2017 that has affected the central United States, have tested the preparedness of the U.S. emergency response capability. Here in the Philippines, the Super Typhoon Yolanda in 2013 and the latest typhoons that have devastated the country has left valuable lessons in disaster preparedness. Further, the recent series of earthquakes around the archipelago has been a blatant warning of the eventual occurrence of the big one that we hope it would not come, thus prompting us to increase our disaster readiness. Also, in the light of our global fight against terrorism, we in the AFP and the U.S. Armed Forces have been working unceasingly to destroy all persons and factions who support this form of lunacy. Just recently, our successful operations in Bohol, which resulted to the death of 9 Abu Sayyaf group members, including their spokesman and potential upcoming leader, Abu Rami. And of course, that's under the leadership of Lieutenant General Lactao. And the operations in Sulu province, which resulted to the death of the notorious kidnapper and ASG sub-leader Al-Habsi Misaya. They are manifestations that are aimed to eradicate terrorism is on the right track. However, we should not rest on our laurels, but rather our efforts must be sustained to maximize the momentum that has been started. Thus, in order to cope with the volatility of our dynamic security landscape, we focused of this year's exercises to the enhancement of humanitarian assistance and disaster relief and the counterterrorism capabilities and operations. In the week to follow, we will work hand in hand to improve our knowledge and competencies in addressing the devastation of natural calamities and subsequently enhance our ability to combat terrorism. By the end of the Balikatan exercises, we will be equipped with greater knowledge and skills in accomplishing our missions. But while doing so, let us not also forget to enjoy and have fun, meet and make new friends, so that our participation in this exercise will be a more meaningful and memorable experience. Before I conclude, I'd like to leave you all with a fitting reminder from the former U.S. President Dwight D. Eisenhower, and I quote, "Though force can protect in emergency, only justice fairness, consideration, and cooperation can finally lead men to the dawn of eternal peace. End of quote. Allow me then to express the AP's appreciation to our counterparts from the United States Armed Forces for remaining true to our ironclad commitment for mutual defense. Our shared devotion to duty has continuously promoted security and stability not only in the Philippines, but in the Indo-Asia Pacific region as well. With much confidence and enthusiasm, I am sure that this year's training activities will be productive and remarkable. As the Chief of Staff of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, it is with great honor that I hereby declare the Philippines-United States Balikatan Exercise 33-2017 officially open. Good luck and congratulations to all participants. Mabuhay tayong lahat.
Thank you to the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines. We shall witness the unfurling of the Balikatan flag. The co-exercise directors, Lieutenant General Nicholson of the United States and Lieutenant General Lactao of the Philippines, are requested for the unfurling of the flag. We have just witnessed, ladies and gentlemen, the unfurling of the exercise Balikatan flag. Thank you, sirs. His Excellency Sung Wai Kim, Ambassador of the United States to the Philippines, will give his remarks.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Secretary Lorenzana, Undersecretary Abadia, Ambassador Ishikawa, General Anyo, Lieutenant General Nicholson, Lieutenant General Lactao, all of the distinguished guests here today. It's my tremendous honor to be here with you today. I want to first thank all the men and women in uniform who spent many, many months planning the training events for Balikatan. These complex and multilateral training events require tremendous coordination. I applaud everyone's commitment, dedication, and hard work. Thank you very much. I also want to recognize great leadership shown by Secretary Lorenzana and General Anyo and their colleagues at DND and AFP for making this year's exercise possible. Thank you. We're here today to open a key bilateral engagement between the U.S. and the Philippines that addresses global challenges. We recognize the need to work together to overcome the daunting challenges posed by the international terror networks. We also understand that bilateral disaster response training can help save lives and help rebuild devastated communities. No nation can face today's challenges alone. Whether a natural disaster ravages part of the world or a man-made crisis shocks a community, our two militaries can deliver much stronger responses together. The lessons we take from Balikatan this year will allow us to respond together to the next disaster more quickly and more effectively. And through a counterterrorism training during Balikatan, our forces exchange critical skills needed to address our shared struggle against terrorism. Training shoulder to shoulder as friends, partners, and allies, our two militaries also build trusts and relationships that will help them deal effectively together with the full range of challenges here in the Philippines and beyond. So Balikatan is obviously a very important military exercise, but from my perspective, it's more than that. Balikatan is a very special and meaningful embodiment of our robust bilateral relationship. It reflects not only our strong military partnership, but also the deep friendship between our two peoples, our mutually beneficial economic ties, and very importantly, our shared history and shared interests. So I thank everyone who contributed to make Balikatan possible. And as I look forward to productive and successful training events for the next 12 days, I'm confident that Balikatan 2017 will reinforce the deep and lasting commitment among our armed forces to each other and for the peaceful and secure community internationally. Thank you. Salamat po.
Thank you to His Excellency, Ambassador of the United States. Let us now hear the remarks of Secretary Delphine N. Lorenzana, Department of National Defense.
Ambassador Kim, Undersecretary Abedilla, General Lanyo, General Nicholson, General Lactau, Ambassador Yasuhide Ishikawa, Captain Brad White, good to see you here, Brad. Other commanders of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, the 25th Infantry Division Commander. Good morning. I was there when the first Balikatan was planned sometime in the early 1980s. I was a captain in the headquarters Philippine Army. And I remember we went to Subic, I think twice, for the planning conferences, and our counterpart, the Americans, came to JHQ. So that was the first one was modest. It was composed of about Army people. Then later on, the Marines and the Air Force came in, and it became a huge exercise. In 2002, I was made the co-director of the Balikatan. A couple of months before I was posted to the U.S. to become the defense attaché. And we went around visiting the troops. And I tell you, you cannot get more real-time or real scenario for exercise than this time of the year in the Philippines. As one American participant has said, he could sit under the shade of a tree and sweat profusely without doing anything. And so, through the years, the Balikatan went on. There was just hiatus several years between in the early 90s until we were able to sign the Visiting Forces Agreement in 1998, and it restarted again. Balikatan under the present leadership. Another reason that makes this year's Balikatan different, or should I say more special, is because, as mentioned a while ago, we are concentrating on HADR, or humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, operations, and counterterrorism. And I think under the current situation in the world, when calamities is becoming more severe, I think we have to devote more resources and time to this kind of activity, and also counterterrorism. I've talked to the defense ministers of China, Russia, and all the defense ministers all over in the Middle East, and the concern is terrorism. I think it's a global threat. I think America is also battling terrorism, both at home and abroad. And so may this year's exercise provide both the armed forces of the Philippines and the U.S. Armed Forces the necessary capability training in responding to disasters and conduct of relief and rescue operations during crisis and meeting the challenges of violent extremism. Let us put in mind that we are doing this exercise as a tool for peace building, and through this exercise, may the United States and the Philippines continue to have a stronger security tie and bilateral relationship. Allow me to express my appreciation to the U.S. troops who are here. We are thankful for your demonstration of friendship and goodwill. I also want to thank the observers, the Australians and the Japanese troops, forces, who are to observe, and maybe in the future we could include your troops to also participate in the Balikatan exercise. Mabuhay, and may you have a productive Balikatan 2017. Be safe, people.
Thank you to the Secretary, Department of National Defense. The guest of honor and speaker will be introduced by the Chief of Staff, Armed Forces of the Philippines, General Eduardo M. Año.
Ladies and gentlemen, representing the Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs, Secretary Enrique A. Manalo, as today's guest of honor and speaker, the Undersecretary for Civilian Security and Consular Concerns, Honorable Ariel Y. Abadilla.
Secretary of Defense Lorenzana, Ambassador Sung Kim, Ambassador Ishikawa, General Año, General Nicholson, distinguished members of the Armed Forces of the Philippines, of the United States, of Australia, honored guests, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to all of you. I would like to thank General Año for inviting the Department of Foreign Affairs to help launch the Philippines' biggest bilateral security exercise. I wish to congratulate the Armed Forces of the Philippines and their counterparts from the United States as you undertake Balikatan 2017. I would like to thank also our interagency partners and the local government hosts for supporting this important activity. The continuing growth of this exercise only shows the growing importance of the Treaty Alliance to many Filipinos. Acting Secretary of Foreign Affairs Enrique Manalo is unable to make it today as he is just arriving today from Washington, D.C., where he and the rest of the ASEAN foreign ministers had a very productive meeting with the United States Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, and the National Security Advisor, H.R. McMaster. As chair of ASEAN in this milestone year of the 50th anniversary and the 40th anniversary of ASEAN-U.S. dialogue relations, the Philippines is pleased with the continuing momentum of high-level engagement between ASEAN and the United States. We certainly look forward to the visit of President Trump to the Philippines in November, especially as it would help our two leaders develop their working relationship and enhance our bilateral partnership. The meetings of Acting Secretary Manalo in Washington and the telephone conversation of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and President Donald Trump on April 29 demonstrate the warm and constant exchanges between the Philippines and the United States that allow our countries to work together in a wide range of bilateral and regional activities. On many occasions, both sides have reaffirmed the strength of the Philippines-U.S. alliance and its significance in regional efforts to maintain peace and stability. And it deserves to be emphasized again. The Philippine government values the alliance with the United States, and we will work to further deepen the very broad cooperation on matters of shared concern. Our Defense Treaty Alliance, now on its 66th year, is the oldest U.S. security engagement in Asia-Pacific and has helped advance the national interests of the two countries. Balikatan is a clear indication of the commitment of the two countries to the Mutual Defense Treaty and to regional security. For the past several decades, the governments of the Philippines and the United States pursued an alliance focused on preserving the peace and stability in the Asia-Pacific. As a long-standing ally and a responsible member of the international community, the Philippines has helped defend democracy on many occasions. We have both been scarred by war and have dedicated ourselves to ensuring that future generations will be spared from the ravages of large-scale conflict. We now also face a new set of challenges. We contend with natural and man-made disasters that require immediate and collaborative response. It is in this security landscape that we welcome the participation of Australia in this year's exercise and the observers from our neighbors in Southeast Asia and our regional partners. Time and again, we have demonstrated how these joint exercises have prepared both our forces to deal with crisis situations, in particular, the onslaught of natural calamities. Our experience in Typhoon Haiyan showed that the years of defense cooperation have allowed our countries to respond swiftly, collaboratively, and comprehensively. At the same time, we are cognizant of the fact that challenges become more complicated, and it is imperative that we undertake enhanced joint activities that will further strengthen the alliance and make it nimble and responsive to any contingency. I understand that this year's exercise will simulate the severe impact of a super typhoon hitting key cities, including Metro Manila. We appreciate the significant assistance of the U.S. Department of Defense to our disaster relief efforts. At the same time, our security forces who have broad experience in this endeavor will also be able to share critical skills to their counterparts. Aside from the HADR exercises, Balikatan 2017 will continue to conduct humanitarian and civic assistance, including engineering works and community relationships in different parts of Luzon and Visayas. With the presence of our uniformed friends from ASEAN and regional partners, it is our hope that the Philippines is able to contribute to regional efforts to improve disaster preparedness and response. Balikatan, with its complex and comprehensive set of exercises, should continue to pursue its functions of enhancing interoperability between our forces and helping the Philippines build a more robust national defense structure. It is the responsibility of our armed forces to undertake activities that will bolster its capabilities to uphold the country's national sovereignty and protect the citizens and support the alliance objectives. The defense cooperation between the Philippines and the United States is a long-standing arrangement not aimed at any particular country or group of countries. It is an alliance that is anchored on shared principles and supportive of regional peace and stability. It is cognizant of the non-traditional challenges faced not only by the Philippines and the United States, but many other countries as well. We see now how non-state actors continue to sow terror in different cities in many parts of the world. The partnership of the Philippines and the United States on counterterrorism is a successful model and one that has been helping neutralize the threat in the country. This year's Balikatan will allow the Philippines and U.S. forces to train on various operations such as advanced marksmanship, counter-improvised explosive devices, and maritime interdiction against piracy. We are committed to protect our people and to work with our allies in combating terrorism and countering violent extremism in all its forms. Ladies and gentlemen, as the world faces new emerging challenges while continuing to deal with traditional concerns, so should the interdependence and strength of the Philippines and the United States as treaty allies and bilateral partners come to the fore. We need to continue developing effective and sustained responses for the benefit of our two countries, the region, and the wide international community. Once again, I would like to congratulate the defense establishments of the Philippines and the United States for what I am sure and confident will be a successful conduct of Balikatan. You are here today because of your commitment to peace and freedom, the same values that guided the Filipino and American soldiers more than 70 years ago to protect our countries and our peoples. The alliance of the Philippines and the United States remains firm and on a strong footing. I have no doubt that it will remain so for the future. Maraming salamat po sa inyo at magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang Balikatan.
Thank you very much to Undersecretary Ariel Y. Abadilla, Department of Foreign Affairs. Please be seated meantime. We would like to request our distinguished personalities on stage for the group pictorial. Thank you very much, sirs. Well, at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we end this morning's ceremony on this opening of the Balikatan Exercise 2017, and we would like to thank you for your presence. And meantime, of course, we'll have the recessional. Our distinguished guests on stage may proceed for the press con. Well, the co-exercise directors will be having their press conference later. The audience is requested to remain seated, or please stand, please stand, as our distinguished personalities move out from this hall.